All right, so keto, huh? Seems like it's everywhere these days.
It is popular, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like the fitness world's, I don't know, the hot new thing. But you're listening because you want more than just the hype.
Right.
You want the fact.
Absolutely, and that's what we're doing today. Unpacking the keto diet from the science up.
Love it. Unpacking it is a great way to put it. So before we get into the how-tos, what exactly are we talking about when we say keto?
So basically, picture this. Instead of your body relying on carbs for energy.
Carbs, like all the good stuff,
Yeah.
bread, pasta.
Yeah, exactly. Comfort foods. So with keto, your body flips the script and starts burning fat instead.
Okay, so it's like my body becomes this fat-burning machine.
Basically. That's ketosis. It's the core concept of the ketogenic diet.
Sounds promising, but how do you, actually make it happen?
It's about understanding your macronutrients
Okay, so like carbs, proteins.
and fats. Those are the big ones.
Mm.
And a typical keto diet, you're shifting those proportions big time. Like
Yep.
we're talking aiming for around 70, maybe 75% of your daily calories from fat, then about 25% from protein,
Okay.
and then carbs. You're cutting way back, only around 5–10%.
Wow, 5–10%. That's a huge change.
So before we go any further, I got to ask,
Yeah.
where on earth did this whole keto idea even come from?
Well, this might surprise you, but keto's roots actually go way back, like way back to the 1920s.
Really?
Yeah. And get this. It wasn't for weight loss back then. It was a treatment for epilepsy.
Serious?
Yeah, doctors realized that inducing ketosis, it could actually reduce the frequency and severity of seizures.
So something that started as a way to manage a serious neurological condition is now being used for weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a bunch of other benefits too. I'm intrigued. What else have we discovered about this whole ketosis thing?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. One of the most promising things researchers are looking at is the impact of keto on blood sugar control. Okay, I'm all ears. Everyone's talking about blood sugar these days. Why is it so important, and what does it have to do with keto?
Right. So every time you eat carbs,
Let me guess. My body breaks them down.
exactly, into glucose, which then enters your bloodstream. This spike in your blood glucose, it triggers the release of insulin.
Insulin, that's the hormone that helps your cells use that glucose, right?
Exactly. Now, when you cut back on carbs like you do on keto,
You minimize those blood sugar spikes.
exactly, leading to more stable insulin levels throughout the entire day.
So instead of riding that blood sugar roller coaster, you're like, what? Cruising. And that's a good thing, especially for people with diabetes, right?
For those with type 2 diabetes, their cells, they become resistant to insulin. Makes it harder to regulate blood sugar.
Makes sense.
Keto can be a game changer, helping them manage their condition and even potentially reduce their reliance on medication.
Now that is fascinating. Okay. So it sounds like keto isn't just some fad diet. It's a powerful metabolic tool. And I'm guessing this whole blood sugar balancing act has some other pretty cool side effects too.
You're right. A lot of people who go keto actually report feeling more clear-headed, and they have more energy throughout the day
No kidding.
because they're not dealing with those energy crashes from blood sugar swings.
That is definitely something I think we can all relate to. I mean, who doesn't want to feel sharper and have more energy all day long?
Right. It's a major perk for many people. And it doesn't even stop there. Some research even suggests that keto might have anti-inflammatory effects.
Oh, okay, hold on. So not only are we talking about weight loss, but also maybe reducing inflammation. This just keeps getting more and more interesting. But before we get too carried away with all the amazing potential upsides, we do need to talk about the other side of the coin. Because like any powerful tool, there are potential drawbacks.
Right. We got to keep it real. Every rose has its thorns.
And when it comes to keto, what thorns are we talking about?
Well, one thing you hear about a lot is the keto flu.
Keto flu. Okay, that doesn't sound fun. Is that like a special keto virus? Should I be worried?
It's not actually a virus.
Oh, okay.
It's more like, an adjustment period. A lot of people go through it when they first cut back on carbs.
What, like they just feel a little, I don't know, off?
Yeah, you might feel a little tired, maybe a bit headachy, like you're getting sick.
So it's like my body's throwing a tantrum because it's used to running on donuts.
Uh-huh. That's a good way to put it. But there's actually a scientific reason. When you go from burning sugar to burning fat for fuel, your body has to adapt. And one of the things that happens is your body releases more water and electrolytes.
Electrolytes like sodium, potassium, all that.
Exactly. And that can lead to those kind of flu-like symptoms.
Interesting. So it's not just a matter of willpower. There's like actual science behind it. But you said it's temporary, right?
Yeah, for most people, it only lasts a few days, maybe a week. Once their body gets used to this new energy source.
Okay, that's good to know. But what about long term? Are there any risks to doing keto over, a really long period?
That's an important question.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to watch out for with any restrictive diet, especially one that cuts carbs as much as keto, is nutrient deficiencies.
Right. That makes sense. If you're cutting out whole food groups, like, I don't know, certain fruits, starchy vegetables,
And grains.
grains, yeah. You might miss out on important stuff like vitamins, minerals, fiber.
Exactly. That's why it's so important for anyone thinking about keto, or really any big diet change, to talk to a professional.
A registered dietitian.
Yeah, or a doctor. Someone who can give them personalized advice and make sure they're getting all the nutrients they need.
Because it's not just about eating bacon all day, right?
It's about making healthy, informed choices,
Yeah.
even within the rules of keto.
Okay, so that's nutrient deficiencies. Anything else people should watch out for?
Well, some people get digestive issues when they first switch to keto.
Like what?
Constipation is a big one, because keto is naturally low in fiber since you're cutting out a lot of high-fiber foods.
So you might need to take fiber supplements.
They can help, but I always tell people to try to get as much fiber as possible from real food. And again, this is where working with a professional is so important. They can help with that. Another thing to keep in mind is that eating a lot of fat long-term can sometimes affect your liver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not super common, but it can happen. So if you're doing keto long-term, it's a good idea to get regular checkups, especially if you have any history of liver problems.
That makes a lot of sense. Regular checkups are never a bad idea. Okay, so we've talked about keto flu, nutrient deficiencies, and even touched on liver health. What about exercise? There's this idea that if you're on keto, you have to, say goodbye to intense workouts, especially strength training. What's up with that?
Yeah, that's another big misconception I hear all the time. It's true that when you first start keto, you might notice a difference in your workouts.
Like you can't work out as hard.
Yeah, you might have less endurance or feel like you've lost some of your, explosiveness, especially in those first few weeks.
Because your body's still getting used to using fat for fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. Your body's used to running on carbs.
Right.
Like a car that's been using gasoline its whole life.
Okay, I'm with you.
And then suddenly you switch to diesel.
Okay.
It might take a little while for the engine to adjust.
Running on fat, yeah. So what happens during that, engine switch period?
Well, as I was saying, you might feel it in your workouts.
Mm.
Like you just don't have the same energy for a while.
Makes sense. It's like your car isn't hitting full speed yet.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Once your body adapts to using fat as fuel, a lot of people actually find they have more stable energy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And their endurance improves too, over time, of course. And some people even say their recovery time is faster.
So it's not that keto and exercise are enemies. They just need to, learn to work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like with any diet change, you got to listen to your body and adjust your workouts if you need to.
That's great advice. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive on keto, I want to shift gears for a minute because there's so much information out there about keto, and it's not always good information.
That's true. Keto is super popular, so there are a lot of people out there with opinions and miracle claims. It can be tough to figure out what's real and what's not.
Totally. It's like everyone's trying to sell you something. Keto supplements, meal plans, their own version of the perfect keto lifestyle.
It's more important than ever to, really think for yourself, do your research, especially when it comes to your health.
Okay, so how do we cut through all that noise? How can our listeners be sure they're getting good information and not just falling for some marketing trick?
You got to be picky and ask questions like, first of all, who's giving you this information? Is it someone who actually knows what they're talking about?
Like a registered dietitian or a doctor.
Right. Or is it someone who just looks good in workout clothes?
Yeah, good point. Just because someone looks healthy doesn't mean they know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want information from someone who's being honest about the downsides too, not just telling you what you want to hear.
Because keto isn't for everyone.
Right. And even if it's a good fit, it's not magic. It takes work. And what works for one person might not work for someone else.
So true. So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from our keto deep dive?
Keto can be really powerful, but it's not a quick fix. It's about making changes to your lifestyle that are sustainable over the long term and listening to your own body.
I love that. So do your research, talk to your doctor, and see if keto is right for you. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive on the keto diet.
My pleasure.